Welcome to the Sunspice Wisdom Show. I'm your host, Ashley Welch, and today I have a very special friend, also known as the Gold Digger Girl, Kimberly Olson. Hey, how are you?
I'm so excited to be here.
I know.
Good.
It's so nice to see you.
This is magical.
It
I know,
is.
you too.
I feel like it's been so long because it has. This is like our first step to get closer to each other because it's been, 2.5 years since we've seen each other. And then I'll get to see you in the flesh in like a week or something.
I know. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Okay. So I was going through your LinkedIn page and I saw you on your news or on a news channel in Austin, local in Austin,
Yes.
as you were launching your book. What was it? F balance or something?
Why balance is BS?
Why balance is BS. Okay.
I like your title better though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you're my friend, I'm just kind of like, I'm just going to ask you all the questions and let you catch me up on your life because I didn't actually want to go and research everything about you. But I was like, I should know one thing that she's been up to aside from all the Facebook Lives that I watch, which are phenomenal, by the way. But I had the flashback when you were on that news channel of you with Genesis Today doing all of the like superfood weight loss management stuff, the green coffee bean back in that whole era of life. And anyways, it was a bittersweet moment watching you. So
it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I miss those days. You know, you were such a. For those of you who don't know, my life before 27 Spice, before Flutter and all of that was working with a superfood company called Genesis Today. And Kimberly actually hired me and trained me up to like be this spokesperson for the company and really helped me find my voice, you know, at a really young age during a time where I just had a baby. I was a single mom and it was like a really crazy time. And you kind of ushered me up and like, you kind of in a very loving way, pushed me to give me some confidence at an early age to just kind of, you know, run about and be able to be a leader at a pretty quick. I mean, I was 21.
You were so young. Oh my gosh, you were so young. I thought you were way older. Do you remember when you had to get the rental car and you were like, oh, I'm not old enough to get, or it was like you had to be 25 or older or something. And you're like, I'm not 25. I'm like, you're not? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, no, well, there was an extra fee. It was like, if you were under 24 years old, then your rate like went through the roof. And so, yeah, I remember the president or the VP of the company, Darren Johnson. If you're watching, hello. He called me and he was like, so, I saw your rental car and it showed an extra, I think it was like an extra like $50 a day or something ridiculous. And he was like, how many more years are we going to have to pay that for you? And I was like, 3.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah. Anyways, well, it's just so nice to see you. And I'm so excited to see you next week. So for anyone who's watching, Kimberly, I've got to see her obviously evolve as a woman, become a mom, and really dominate her, your brand. Like, and your brand is really you. You've taken yourself and you've created a whole brand around it. And it appears to be the most authentic version of you that I've ever seen. So it's really cool to watch, but it's awesome to see you taking this concept and empowering other people to find their voice and to find what drives them and then also give them very like, I guess, just tactile formulas on how to succeed in the world of social media, in the world where, like, for me, I honestly, like, I just kind of avoided it for a really long time. You know, some kids loved it and they gravitated towards the online social media stuff naturally right away. For me, I kind of like, I didn't like it. I was, in certain ways repulsed by it. I didn't find it enjoyable until recently. And watching you has still been an inspiration for me, to see. I'm like, oh, well, if Kim can do it, I can do it. She's taught me all along. So, so I guess
for sure.
For people that are watching, what, like, obviously you work with clients privately and you also do coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're like multifaceted as far as what you do. You have a podcast, you have your Facebook lives that you do, you have your client workshops, you're a freaking author, you have a PhD. Like, we could just go on and on about everything that you've done. But if someone wanted to work with you, what would that sort of initial experience look like when you first bring a client in to help sort of guide them? I guess give me that step-by-step experience.
Yeah, for sure. So I teach completely online. So I don't teach anything brick and mortar. I've helped people go from like an artist right before COVID. She got into my group coaching and was able to pivot. So it was like such divine timing because she literally signed up a month before everything happened. She couldn't sell in art galleries anymore. So anyone who's wanting to build on social media. So I teach organic building. So they have to learn how to show up, authentically, like you talked about. But the biggest thing is with social media, and especially now more than ever with everything we're going on globally, you have a choice of how you're going to show up. So you can choose to be the light. You can choose to encourage, inspire. I mean, really, people come to social media to connect. So if you're ever feeling like icky about it, or it just feels, disingenuine, it's because you're either engaging with content that's not aligned with you energetically. Maybe you're hanging out on TikTok too long, or you are scrolling on Instagram, comparing yourself to all those chicks that are like totally airbrushed, instead of building a community, finding a tribe, finding your voice. Like, it is the most incredible thing in the whole world when you get a message from someone who's like, I've been following you and you gave me the courage to get help and I overcame my alcohol addiction. I've been following you and I had the courage to start my business and I just put my 2 weeks notice. Like, I get those messages every day. Like, I'm not even kidding. And so it obviously fuels me, but it really has shown me like, this is bigger than me. This really is bigger than me. I'm just a vehicle. I'm just a vessel, I guess. So I don't know if that sounds too pie in the sky, but I really am so passionate about this because there's such bad stuff out there right now. And I'm like, you can focus on that, or we can focus on this over here.
Abso-freaking-lutely. I will say amen to that, because I have witnessed, and it's weird, even I'm sure you've experienced this sort of darker energy that honestly, it turns out it makes more money. The bad stuff makes more money in ads on social media. So you feel like you can at certain times be bombarded. And if you get a comment from someone, it could be a family member, and you're just like, oh, like that's just, it can be too much. So so you have, it's actually way easier to be negative or to pick up on that negative stuff than to choose a place of light. So I don't think it's too high in the sky at all. I think everyone is on board with that. Or at least the people that are watching the Sunspice Wisdom show are, because you should hear some of the stuff we're talking about. But yeah, I'll have you doing breath exercises here halfway through the, no, just kidding.
I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, when COVID hit, did you find that your business ramped up because people were at home and they had to figure it out?
Yeah, it was multiple reasons. So one, like, we did like $250,000 last year and we're going to do 1.1 million this year. So it quadrupled. But what happened is people were shifting to online. I'm in direct sales network marketing. So I work with people who are in that space and want to learn how to build genuinely, or people who want to become coaches. So people are already going, okay, online's an option here, right? Maybe I really should work on my business. Or people who had never considered it before, the search on it went from like 100 to 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy how many people are looking to come online. But the other thing is, people are choosing to invest. Like, my program is like thousands of dollars. They're choosing to invest in themselves, but they want to learn from someone who's really doing it the right way. So I was able to stand out because I had filled the gap in the market. I was teaching, don't cold message, don't spam, don't be gross, stop being weird, Gina. And so I was teaching, like, just look at people like normal humans, right? And it was really like serving me because people were drawn to me for it. So yeah, it totally helped us for sure.
Yeah. So what was that? I'm kind of curious because there was such a gap where we didn't actually connect a whole lot when you went through a lot of transformations. I think I saw you in Austin in maybe it was 2016 for when I was at South by Southwest and we connected. And at that point in your life, you had just had your second baby and you hadn't, Gold Digger Girl hadn't come. So what was that sort of period of time where it felt like I remember you were in postpartum and kind of you were figuring things out. You had just moved into a beautiful home with your husband, but I remember feeling that energy that you were still trying to figure out what that was. And I'm curious what that journey was like for you, both kind of on a personal level and then how that seeded into the conception of the Gold Digger Girl.
Yeah, that's such a good question. It's so fun too because you know me so well. So like you were there, like right next to me. You know, when I went through some of that stuff that people never known about. So yeah, when I had Elise, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my second. I lost my full time job, and I was with skincare company, and I was making almost six figures. And then we built this dream home.
Yeah, that was with my show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was making great money. I was traveling. We only had one baby and built this like gorgeous home that, well, for us, it was, our dream home, 2 new vehicles. And then Elise came right before she was born. I was let go they had basically eliminated the territory. So it wasn't performance or anything, but it was gone. Right. And so you can't exactly like go out and interview, right? So I was unemployed for 5 months. I ran a boot camp in my backyard. I had my baby strapped to my body. I'm like, do push-ups. Like I was hustling, right? Like I was trying to make the ends meet, but I did fall into a really deep depression. We cashed in our 401ks. We put everything on credit cards. So I took a job locally, but it was like half the money. And my coping mechanism was drinking alcohol. It goes up, it's in both sides of my family, like rampant. And that became my coping. Like I just was not happy. I had a lot of dark thoughts, never like suicidal, but definitely deep depression. I always think of it as like a tormented mind. So if you're listening and you're like, oh man, I'm like that too. I'm telling you can overcome it because I have. But at the time I felt like something was wrong with me. I was like, what's wrong with me? So my friend was telling me about her network marketing, Victoria, Victoria Alexander. And she was like, you got to come do it. It's awesome. And she was just so persistent. And I was like, I am not interested. I don't want to be that girl. And then I saw her at a friend's house and she was like, just try the product. Look, it's helped this kid grow his hair back. And I'm like, it's helping kids. Like, I was like, I want to help the kids. So I was like, I'm going to help the kids. So
she sold you.
She's like, ooh, I've got her figured out. So I fell like totally into it. So I said, okay, you 30 days, girl, I'm going to go all in. If this works, I'm in. If not, like, don't ever talk to me again. So I went all in and then it was okay. But 6 months in, I ran out of my warm market and everyone was teaching to spam. I'm not kidding you. Like they would give you scripts and like send it to people. I mean, it was ick factor, right? So I was like, I prayed on it and I'm like, God, I want to make this work. I hate my job. There's a bully. I never see my kids. Like I would FaceTime into doctor's appointments. Like it was like the worst momming ever. And I just said, please show me the way. Like I'm so coachable. I'm hungry. I'm driven. Show me the way. And then someone tagged me in a video of this girl teaching social media attraction marketing, which is where you offer value, attract people to you, totally different model. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I started going live and I was like, wake up with lemon water. Here's some natural deodorant. Like I had no freaking plan. Like I was just like, I'm going to go just live every week. And then the girls that started following me were also in network marketing and direct sales. And they loved how I was showing up. And I would tell them, I don't know what I'm doing. I just learned this last week, but it's awesome. And they were like, okay. And then they would do it and it would work. So they were like, will you teach us like vision boards and business planning and how to go live? And I was like, sure. And so I started charging them. And so that spring I was like, I need to come up with a name, like I got to make this real. So I was like the Gold Digger Girl and I looked and no one had it. So I just grabbed the username and the website. And then I became the Gold Digger Girl. So when people see me in public, they're like, Gold Digger Girl, like they don't even know my name. I'm like, hey, it's Kim Olson, but it's I'm associated with it. So
yeah. Well, and so it sounds like the death of Fit Kim was kind of like meant the rebirth of the Gold Digger Girl.
Yes. And when I tried to do Fit Kim, it wasn't genuine. Like I was trying to be this like fit chick and like just show up like I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like a persona. I
Yeah.
didn't want to really say like, oh, I eat pizza and like I've got some, cellulite. Like it was so bizarre. And then once this all happened, I just was learning about being vulnerable and all that. And I did go through intensive therapy. So when I got into network marketing and I got it going, I would fall back. Got it going, would fall back. And I was just very destructive. Like, I can't even tell you, like, you can't exactly like rock a business if you've had a few glasses of wine, like it just wasn't working. So I got into therapy. Michelle Thompson, I talk about her all the time. She's a Reiki, she's a hypnotherapist, does Reiki, she's a life coach, intense therapy. And I worked with her virtually, like we did it remote, and it was months and months and months. But one day I woke up and I was positive. Like I had reprogrammed my subconscious mind. I was speaking good and truth, and I was like, "You can do this." So August 1st of 2017 was my first day, I guess, of sobriety, and haven't had anything since then. But my life changed after that because if a hater came along or a setback or someone quit, like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like when you can really like get your mind where you want it to be, you know your truth. Like you really become empowered to do anything that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that your experience with alcoholism, just because I know that obviously it runs in my family too, and in so many families, it's something that people don't want to talk about or they don't want to think they have a problem. And so it's just like, well, this is just my lifestyle. And so I'm curious kind of what were the things that kind of seemed to be leading you to consume more alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
Like I noticed.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one time I heard an audiobook, the one Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis, and she was saying there's a difference between wanting a drink and needing a drink. So like if you want a drink, you're like my husband's a social drink breweries and distilleries, and like he loves like a good, like something well made, right? He's like enjoys it, loves it. But when you need it, that's when there's a problem. So
Right.
I was finding like throughout the day, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get home and just take the edge off, right? Like it's just take the edge off. But for me, like I'm not just have that one glass, then I would have another and another and another. So this is the bottom line. When it's the gap, it's called the knowing doing gap. But when you know what you want to do, like you're like, okay, in order to grow my business, I need to record a podcast, right? I need to go live. I need to start a Facebook group. Like you know what you need to do. And then the doing, you're not, that gap, you have to ask yourself, why is there a gap? And for me, I identified the gap was the only time I could work on my business was at night because I was working full time and had little kids. They were 1 and 2 when I started.
Yeah.
The only time was that sweet spot at night when my house was quiet and I wasn't able to work on my business because I was, just couldn't. And so I would wake up every day with regret and remorse. And I knew there was a disconnect between what I wanted and how I was showing up. So I feel like it could be other things. Like one girl had said, I heard your story and I realized I tune out for my kids and I just turn on Netflix and I just binge watch and I don't want to deal with my kids. Like that's what I'm doing. It's so destructive. Like that's not how I want to be. So it doesn't have to be alcohol or even drugs. Right. It can be food, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, we were in the health and wellness space together. So yeah, it can be different ways. Yeah. And so you just have to ask yourself, are you showing up the way that you want to show up every day? And if not, your job is to figure out why not, and then do what you can to change that.
Mm-hmm. Totally. All right, you're preaching to the choir. This is awesome. I'm getting like a motivational session. This is great. You can come on the podcast. You can come anytime. But this is actually really good stuff for me to hear because I actually feel, and I know I'm not the only one out there where I have, my company's just started moving along and I'm starting to do content and lots of things are going great. And it's funny, I am feeling that beginning process of feeling like I might be moving back. And it's not even that it's happening, it's the feeling before like maybe the action would normally happen. And so what I actually am trying to do is catch it and work through that. Because in the past I haven't. I'm really good at starting something, putting a lot of energy into it. I always like my husband, he's a marathon runner. Those, they're just like, they're long, like they'll get it done, but it's going to be slow and steady, but they'll always win that race. And for me, I'm like, well, I like to just go in spurts. I like to like run and then take a nice fat break and then run again and then take a nice fat break. So I'm feeling that moment of exhaustion, and I think emotional exhaustion, physical exhaustion. And it's like, okay, so what would the default be? The default would be to like consume more sugar, increase alcohol, find these sort of things that will just quickly make me feel good temporarily to continue suppressing these feelings that like something needs to shift or I need to, so just, it's nice to talk to you and realize I'm not crazy and alone in that sort of processing.
Absolutely. And I think honestly, all entrepreneurs are very creative, and most of us, we have ideas. We're full of ideas. So what I heard, this is so many things, but the quote, it's like, characters developed when you keep doing what you said you were going to do long after the excitement has passed, right? Like, and I can't tell you how many nights I've stayed up. I mean, I stayed up till 3 a.m. I don't do this often, but I did a couple weeks ago because a chapter was due for a book or whatever. And I was like, I said I was going to do it. Like, so I'm here at 3 a.m. It's my responsibility. I'm the one that waited this long or whatever. So there's that. But also when we're so creative, if you're listening, you're like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I love starting things and I never finish it. It's so common. But Warren Buffett says, he's like, write down your 25 career goals for your whole life. Pick the 5 that are most doable, like closest in proximity to the completion. And your job is to ignore the other 20. Like, that's not the hard part for us. It's the 5 goals. It's ignoring the other 20. So have a parking lot. The back of my journal, my planner is where all my ideas go. I just had a meeting with my operations director and I was like, okay, I want to create a journal. There's this. She's like, okay, that's awesome. But you need to build these modules up for the program you just sold. And I was like, oh yeah, let me write that down first. So I don't want to do that. I want to go make a planner that's pretty, or a journal. So we're all wired that way, Ashley. Like, we are all wired. Your husband is like Scott, like they're just slow and steady, so reliable. They get it done. And not that he's not creative, but I feel like it's kind of a thing for us entrepreneurs. Like, it's hard to focus on one thing at a time, but you can't create greatness if you're bouncing all over the place. You really can't. You got to stay the course.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And I know so many people watching this know that feeling exactly. Oh man. I'm just letting it all soak in what you're saying right now. Thanks, big sis.
You're welcome. I always got your back.
How are you?
Well, I love everything that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. How are your daughters doing? How old are they now?
They're so good. So Addison's 6 and she's in 1st grade, and she has a YouTube channel. She goes live. Like, she is a mini me. She has this imaginary conference where a gold cheetah comes out on stage and she wants me to play the drums. I don't even know. I'm like, how do I tell her that's not real? But then I'm like, I can't tell her it's not real because she's manifesting. And then Elise is my strong-willed blessing. So she's 4 and she's in pre-K, and no one is going to tell that child what to do. She'll probably be running a small country at some point. She's very hard to parent, but I know she's going to be an amazing adult.
This sounds exactly like Eli and William, like literally the female, the yin versions of my yang guys. Cause I am at a loss for my son. I don't need my younger one. I'm just like, I don't even know.
There's no book.
You're just like, I'm trying to make bumpers, and I hope to God that, like, the crashing isn't too painful every time. Just like,
Amen. So I think it's a birth order thing too. I've heard other people say the second one's a lot harder.
Yeah. God, what is that?
I know. I think God's just like, oh, how cute. It's like free entertainment.
It's funny when I think about, I feel like it's honestly if you have a strong-willed kid that has the freedom to really express that out, it really says a lot. This is how I take credit. So it says a lot about our parenting that we have created such a safe environment for them to lose their freaking minds all the time. And that's how safe they feel. And what a gift that is that we can provide to them,
Oh yeah. That's huge. One of my friends, she's a mom of 4, and she's like, he's so put together, her son, like, and Elise is the same way at school. She's amazing. Like they're like, they send happy grams home and I'm reading it and I'm like, there's no way this is the same kid. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to be mean, but and she loses it here. And my friend was like, it's me. It's not my husband. You are her safest place in this whole world where she can let it all go. She doesn't have to wear a mask. She doesn't have to hold it together. She can just let it all go and be her complete self. And I'm like, oh, so then it was like a badge of honor, right? Like, okay. Yeah. Like you said, that's a safe parenting thing that you created. It's like, that.
I'll take all the scars, physical scars. I mean, I have a scratch down the side of, how people get the teardrop? Like mine is just a long line of fingernail scratch. I'm like, oh, what a gift. What a gift I can give you. Yeah.
I have lots of bruises on my legs. Don't feel bad.
Yeah. So one of the themes that we have been talking a lot about here at Sunspice is this balance of yin and yang, because the energy of the masculine and feminine has been a really hot topic lately. And you see it on so many fronts. And so I'm actually curious how in your household it works, because for you in this energy of yang, like having to keep momentum going and be the force behind your business, how do you find that balance? One of, your like feminine and masculine side to get things done, but also to rejuvenate and heal and all that within yourself, and then also in your family. I'm just curious how you find balance with a house that has, a force of an entrepreneur like you.
There's a lot going on. So yeah, of course you have to start with yourself. And it took me a while to get this. So I've been online for 3 years, but I've been, doing network marketing for 3.5. So it took time to get here, but I work less than I worked. I work less than 40 hours a week. So I have learned, my team knows you won't hear me from 3 p.m. when she gets off the bus until 9:30 at night. Like, don't even try. If you do, it'll just sit there. But there's, everyone knows how to get what they need. It's not through me. So setting boundaries up within, your work is really important. And then taking care of yourself. So I get massages all the time. I think it's an investment in my health. Like, it's expensive, but I'm like, yeah, but me having that energy to be a good mom is, so I get massages, I do yoga. I was just tapping. I had a weird situation with a virtual doctor's appointment. And so I was like really frustrated by it. And I was like, I'm going to tap because I got my coaching calls coming up with my students. So I try to do that kind of stuff. I journal, all that. And with my kids and as the family, it's separating it. So for what I do is I pretend, and this is in the book, Why Balance is BS. I pretend I take my entrepreneurial hat off and I'm mom. So it's like, okay, let's go play. What's going on? How are you doing? How was your day? Someone told me once that if you talk to your kids when they're little, they'll talk to you when they're older. And that really stuck with me. So I'm really big on like, let's talk. And Addison just all the time. So that's easy. But Elise, it takes a little bit longer. But what does she want to do? She just wants to sit in my lap, and then she's happy. So I think the biggest thing is having the boundaries, because we both work from home. Scott works for the state, but he's been home since COVID. So he has an office set up in our bedroom. And so he's completely separate. He's doing his thing over there. I'm doing my thing here. When we're done, it's like, cool, we're back into, family mode. So I think just having those boundaries, but taking care of yourself, because honestly, it's true. Your kids get your overflow. So if you're depleted or you're snapping at them, it's probably just because you haven't taken enough care of yourself.
Totally. And for people that don't know, and I have a little bit of a background of what it is, but I think a lot of people are curious, what is tapping and what is that process that is so good?
Oh, it's amazing. So tapping is where you tap your meridian points. So you have them all over, but it's basically, different, kind of mostly in your you do your wrist and then different meridian points around your face. Yeah. And then you can do it here and then up on top. So if you type in, Brad Yates is one that I do for quick ones. Brad Yates on YouTube. I have a coach in my program that she does it. So you can find lots of people who do it, but basically energy is real and it is stored in our cells. It's circulating through our body, and they've been able to physically see, like, we store emotions and all of that. So as negative emotions are running through our body, maybe you feel frustrated or bored or angry or depressed, anything it is, you've got this negative energy. So what tapping does is it disrupts the negative energy flowing through your body. And then you are basically redirecting it to positive. So with tapping, you speak like, I'm feeling really frustrated right now because this happened. And then you basically, through the process of tapping, flip the whole thing. Like, but I guess there's lots of things that I could be grateful for right now that I could focus on.
And so are you tapping and you're tapping while you're going through all of these? While you're saying,
you're tapping while you're talking. So what I do is when I'm watching it, I repeat what he says and I do it with him. Okay. And I've been tapping for about 3.5 years. When I was going through all that transformation work with my mindset to overcome the negative thinking at work, I would sometimes have some frustrations at work. So I would go find a quiet place and tap for 5 minutes and boom. It was amazing. I was able to just get out of that funk. Think of a funk, right? You have just not feeling so awesome. Literally tapping, the benefits are profound. So
I mean, how many minutes for you? Obviously now you're kind of more attuned to it, but how much time does someone need to take to go set aside to do that?
Oh, I've always done the really short ones that are less than 10 minutes. I know some people teach, I think it's Margaret, she's famous too. Hers are a little bit longer, but he has a lot of short ones and just like ADD next thing. So I just do like 5 or 6 minutes and it totally works for me.
Cool. I'm gonna have to try it. Yeah. I it's funny. I used to do it with Eli just when he was little. But I never really did it on myself. So I'm gonna have to try that out.
How interesting.
Yeah.
See, mom life.
Just giving it out, selling the soul.
It out. Yep. Here you go. You get all the goods.
Yeah. Well, I will say humbly that watching you kind of move through your transformation, obviously steps ahead of me. Even though I was much younger when I had my first child, so there were certain things I went through. I think there's sort of just a process with age and emotions and dealing with traumas and looking at your darker stuff that just kind of naturally occurs later on in life. And so obviously because you're older than me, I got to watch you from afar, sense you going through your stuff. And it's been inspiring to see you kind of move past that, because when I had when I had William, I went into that deep, dark depression, and it was like the drinking to cope, the, not eating, just lots of coffee and caffeine to get through the day. And just, just total destructive depletion. I'm still young enough, I'll be fine. And then you wake up one day and you're like, I don't know, not getting any younger and I'm not feeling any younger. Yeah. So, to watch you kind of just in that, having overcome that has been really inspiring for me, because I can feel like I'm in the beginnings of moving out of that place and at the beginnings of my healing. But feel like I have a lot to learn from you, as do I think many other people do. So, if people want to work with you or learn more about you, golddiggergirl.com is where they're going to go.
Yeah, the best place to connect is on Instagram and Facebook. So if you like following stories and all that, it's the Gold Digger Girl, GOAL. So just type in the Gold Digger Girl website. I mean, wherever you're hanging out, I'm there. And then I go live at 1:00 Central every Monday on Facebook. So if you do want to learn how to build on social media, it's the Gold Digger Girl. It's my Facebook business page. That would be the best place.
Okay. And then if someone wants to work, like certain people may just be like, I want her to work with her right now. And would that still be the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So you can shoot me a message over those places and I'm on every single day. You can also click services on my website, thegolddiggergirl.com. Just hit the menu button and you'll see a spot to contact me.
Cool. That's great. Well, Kim, it's been fabulous chatting with you, and I will get to see you next week.
So excited, counting down the days.
I know. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will be here next week again for another episode of Sunspice Wisdom. Thank you, Kim, for hopping on. And until next time, we will see you all later. Bye.
Bye.